Hello, everyone. Hi. Good evening, everybody. This is already evening, by the way. Thank you so much for joining us today to celebrate the World Product Day. Hi, guys. Okay, thank you. All right, my name is Promise Elimihele. I am the head of product at Kora. Um, I'm just here to welcome you guys to our World Product Day. So happy to have everybody here in this room and more people coming. We have product managers, we have thought leaders, we have designers, we have engineers as well here. So this room is really filled with people that can impact us in various ways. You guys are in for a wonderful event. We have a wonderful panel session with wonderful people. You would see them. I don't want to spoil the surprise. So we have wonderful people coming to share their expertise with us. We have a keynote speech from our wonderful CEO. We're also going to walk you through some of our product that we just have out now. So you guys are in for a wonderful event. So sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself. So I'm going to just pass the mic to our host for the evening, Louis. Please put your hands together for Louis.
Hi everyone, good evening. I thought you guys wouldn't clap for me now. It's good to have everyone here though. How many of us here have attended any Kora event? Let me see your hand up. Nobody? This is your first time? Okay, how many of you people have heard of any event Kora organized? And testimonies. So you're here by referral. Testimonies. What's the name? Good to have you here. A lot of beautiful faces and beautiful smiles. It's good to have you guys. So while we wait for more people to join us, I just want to hear what a few people, you don't have to, I won't point anybody, but you just have to tell me your expectation for this event today to go. What are you expecting? Because for most people it's the first time. And Becca, why are you looking at me? Okay, you didn't get me. I said, for today's event, what's that thing you want to gain as you leave this? You decided to leave your house and come here. What do you want to gain as you're here? It's your time. It's a resource. So I just want to take from few people the expectations for today. You know why you're here, but okay, I see a hand. Prince.
Okay, so I'm here to gain a lot, and one of the things I'm here to gain is knowledge, like not just anyhow knowledge, but standard knowledge on product, because this is a product day, definitely. So they are going to be talking about products. So I want to gain standard knowledge on products and then explore opportunities, network with people around.
All right, then you're in the right place. Who wants to go? Anyone?
Okay. All right. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Mike Kachi, and one of my expectations for this event is to, I would say, listen to expertise when it comes to product design, when it comes to product managing. So I want to gain full insight, right, about different aspects of products, right? So and I'm looking forward to network. I'm also looking forward for impactful opportunities. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Okay, hi everybody, good evening. So the reason I'm here first off is to get people's understanding of how they individually manage products and product teams. And then most specifically, I would like to meet Adedoyin Abisola.
Adedoyin. Should I crush your heart? She's not around. All right. Anyone want to go? All right. Thank you. All right.
Okay, so I want to, of course, network, meet wonderful, intelligent minds, and also I want to learn how product design is evolving with the AI capabilities and evolutions as we move on.
Nice. I believe you get that here tonight. Okay, I think if I
Good evening, everyone. Okay, I'm looking forward to getting fresh insights on how product teams navigate product challenges, and also to know more about global product trends.
Sorry?
Know more about global product trends. Yeah, thank you.
anyone want to go? Shy. Feel free. Okay. It's fine. All right. I think we're going to cover most of the things everyone have said here today, but we will be channeling it towards the area that is the most talked about right now. Who wants to tell me that area? Like there's a technology going around. I'm sure a lot of people here are using it.
Yeah.
Doing assignments with it, doing research, doing design, building stuff, right? So we'll be focusing more on that, right? So that's AI. I was actually supposed to say anybody that tells me that area will get something from us, but yeah, I've said it already. But yeah, while we wait for more people to join us, I want to say we're happy to have you guys here making time. How many people hate rainy season here? Like me? Rainy season. Who hates rainy season here? Yeah. Don't worry, don't be shy. I actually don't like rainy season because it spoils plans, and for today's event it's looking like it's going to rain, so. But again, yeah, you're all welcome. While we wait for more people, I learned that there are some observers from Silicon Valley with us here today. So just use this time to say hi to your neighbor. I'm this person. Yeah, we have our tags, right? We're not in church, but I can see some people already saying hi, neighbor. But yeah, just get to know the person next to you. Introduce yourself. Tell them what you do. I'm going to ask you, when you come for events like this, so that's when you go for events, right? You should make it a goal to meet I do this, what do you do? It's important. Alright, so while we're at it, just get to know your neighbor while we wait for other people. I can see people laughing already. That's nice. I was going to attack all of you for that. Louis, the product manager. All right. How many people have made new friends here? Who did you meet? What's Joba's role? And who? Who? Bolu? I can't see Bolu's tag. Hi, Bolu. What do you do? Huh? Consulting. Wow, we have everybody in the building. All right, how many of us have friends that couldn't make it here today? They wanted to be here. You can't hear me? Like friends that couldn't make it here today with us. All right, if you have friends, you can just tell them to check us out on YouTube. Check
Hello, guys. Hi. Hello. So I want to do something very, very by the way, my name is Olawale. And we just want to have a bit of fun. So what we'll do is you come out, I'll choose, by the way, and you just say something fun about you. It has to be fun. Don't tell me you read or you code. Something fun about you, you go. So Louis will be the one to choose the people. We are going to call, like, say, how many?
Let's do 4 people.
4
2 girls, 2 guys.
And there's something here. If it's like very fun, we can give you like our swag, like our merch, like the tote bag, notepad, or pen. You get. So we'll start now. Louis, let's go.
Okay, before we go into that phase, I introduced myself here. Nobody, only one person. And because of that, she's going to get a gift. Farida, right? Farida. Nafisa, yeah. She was the only person that asked me my name. I started talking here, nobody asked me my name. So she already has a gift from Kora. All right. While we wait for people to join us, it's raining, right? So we'll just give that room for other people to join. We'll just go ahead. And you also have a chance to win our cool swag, like Wale said. Just after the program, you can meet us. So I'm going to give her hers. So I'm going to call. I want to do. All right. Oyi Damola.
Oyi Damola. It has to be fun, no? That's the disclaimer here.
The audience will decide.
But give it a shot.
No, just don't worry.
Just try.
Just tell us your name, what you do, and what's fun about you.
My name is Oyinda Mola. I'm a product designer. Fun. I don't have anything.
Please don't say anything work. Don't say anything work.
Okay. I go to the gym.
You go to
The gym. Is that fun?
I didn't hear you. It's fine. No, you get his swag for confidence.
Hi everyone. My name is Sheifumi. So I have 2 fun facts actually.
What do you do?
Product manager.
Audi.
So I have 2 fun facts. Okay, the first fun fact is I wrote an article every week for an entire year.
About what? Wait.
About product management. I was trying to learn, so I started writing about it.
When did you start?
April 2023 to April 2024.
And you did that for 1 year?
Yeah.
Swag. Nice one.
All right.
The second one?
I played the talking drum.
Talking drum? Should we give her 2 swags? All right, nice one. All right.
Hi everyone, my name is Latifa.
All right.
I'm a product designer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fun, something fun. I just. What?
No. Okay. Are you shy?
I'm shy.
No, even me, I'm shy.
Alright. Hi everyone, my name is Latifa. I am a product designer. Something fun. Okay, I just learned how to swim. And I think I'm ready for Should I pass it to someone else?
Yeah, we want guys. We have 3 ladies already,
Yeah.
so one guys. Nominate yourself.
Wait,
if you
so
want
the
to.
guy is here? No, not you. Not him. No. Yeah, a guy, but I said no.
I think
Paul, do you want to go?
I was about to say Paul.
Paul.
Paul should be fun. Could you come out, please? maybe David next. David.
Hi, hello. I'm Paul. I'm a product designer. Fun. Okay, I'll give you two things. First thing, I am uncharacteristically art inclined. So sing, dance, draw. And second, I don't know if it's fun, man, but I lost a pretty horrible bet to someone saying that Figma was never going to pick up. I said that Adobe XD was going to be the software of the century, and as you can imagine, I was horribly wrong. So yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you very much. David, yeah? You have been nominated, so please come out. All right.
Hi everyone, my name is David. I'm a product designer. And for fun, I like rap music, like a lot.
Rap us now, rap. Come on.
I like rap music, don't mean it.
Rap any verse.
No, I mean I like rap music, doesn't mean I'm not.
But you can't give us any bars or something.
Bars.
Vector, I don't know, it might not be international, but our people here.
The real is back.
Alrighty, I think we can have just one person just to close this session. Abayomi, you look fun. You want to come out?
All right, after Abayomi, we'll be kicking things off.
Thank you. So one fun fact about me. Okay, sorry. My name is Abayomi and I'm a product designer. So one fun fact about me is, this actually while growing up during my secondary school days, it's a how would I put it? Friends just go about yapping and things like that. So I took it up to myself, and anytime we together with my friend, before we start anything like that, I first use that to yab myself. Then, because I know it will hit at me, so and that's and that's my trademark. Okay, which sometimes I just use it in a way to say, okay, like I work with. Sometimes I will just say something like, I work with Nike, and that's because of the mark, the tribal mark that I have in front of me. That's all.
All right, thank you, Abayomi. All right, we're about to. Wow, since we're enjoying the night already, but it's good to see that everybody enjoying themselves. All right, at this point, we'll be kicking things off. Right, we're here to celebrate World Products Day. But this day would have been possible if not for the person I'm supposed to introduce right now. And we'll be welcoming him to give us like a keynote speech. And he'll be addressing us and giving us talking about the future of innovation beyond payments. Give a round of applause for Dickson Nsofor. That's not loud enough.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Yes, welcome to our humble office. And it's great to see you all today. I believe we're all not just product managers. I believe it's just product design, the whole mix of products as a whole. So, again, you're highly welcome to Kora's HQ for such an amazing event today. Briefly, I want to speak about the core innovation around products as a whole thing. You know, a lot of times, a lot of businesses don't actually understand how important the product is. Now, of course, people will be like, what is the product? And I want to start by saying, firstly, before the skill called the product, the first product is the people. I know a lot of times you might not have heard of this, but in Kora, our first product is our people. Not necessarily the products that we ship out that people use, but our people are the first product. I think that's the core foundation of what being a product person is. And at the end of the day, I don't know, for many of you that are here, have you used Paystack? You know, you see one small logo, built with love from Africa. And when you use it, you see how seamless it is. Yeah, I'm not saying Kora is not there, but I'm just saying that Paystack has done an amazing job. But people think it's about the skill in executing the vision, whereas they don't know that a lot of work was done into the people that were building that product. So when you have excellent people building out a product, then there's no way you won't have such an amazing product. Like that with love, built with love from Africa, is not a joke. If you use it, you see how seamless it is. And that's the same thing with Kora. So while we celebrate World Product Day and we think about, you know, like if you're in fintech, you'll be the fintech product, insurtech, insurance product, and all of that. I think it's very important that the soul of the team in the product department of any organization should be, in fact, like I'm tempted to brag about the kind of product managers or product designers we have in Kora, because you have to set a standard and be the standard as the first product. We oftentimes don't speak enough about that. Kora is 100% product-led. 100% product-led. So what do I mean? I think of a great vision. I do everything. Every single year, and by the way, every single year, before we go into the next year, our year ends in October. So for instance, I have just 4 to 5 months left this year. So before we go into the new year, I'll sit with the head of product and I'll share my vision. And then she will scrap like half out and just keep like half. And then we focus on that half. And that's what a product-led organization sounds like. But not just that. After doing that, ensuring that the people that are responsible for the product, like the output of the organization and the testaments of the vision you want to sell is as good as your product. So at the end of the day, there has to be a spirit of excellence that must be built into product people. I'm not saying it shouldn't be built into business development people, because their skill is soft. But I'm talking about, these are things that will stand the test of time. There's a reason why we love Apple over, let's say, any other Chinese brand. What's the reason? The simple reason why Apple is what it is the spirit of excellence that was put into designing, manufacturing, and building Apple. And a lot of times when people talk about how Apple is the greatest company on earth, they don't speak enough about the level of work Steve Jobs put in, not on the product, but on the people building the product. So the first foundation I want to speak about today, or I want you to take home, is that the core product as product people or a product-led organization is the people. The spirit of excellence must be in you, such that, you know, we oftentimes describe the spirit of excellence as not doing what is expected of you. You know, like when the score is 100 and you do 100, they oftentimes say that's excellent, but that's not truly what excellence is. Excellence is 101, 102. You know, like you have these friends in school that after they write test, of course they will score maybe a very high score, but the teacher will call them out and say, oh yeah, come and solve it on the. That's excellence, meaning that I didn't just only write. They think I am qualified enough to teach it, right? So product people in any organization, for that organization to even work, for even your career to work, for you to stand out, you must have that spirit of excellence. doing what is expected of you, especially when no one is watching or when no one is looking. Like if you're going to do a design, you just don't shabbishly do the design and meet the deadline. You're doing it in an extra, like you want to leave the design with his signature so that 10 years later when somebody, who did this design? Oh, this must be David's design, right? I think that's the foundation of this World Product Day. To me, I call it World Excellence Day because you can't be a product manager, you can't be a product designer, you can't be a product person without embodying that level of excellence. And then number two, across the innovations we see, I strongly think like beyond payments. I don't know many of the other people what other industries you're working in, but from where we're seeing like this crazy. Now I've spoken about the foundation part. Now I'm talking about the skill side of product. I think there's a really big wave going on now. I'm sure probably everybody here uses Lovable for something or the other. And for those that probably product managers are now using either ChatGPT or anything, right? So there's this crazy wave of AI going on here. And I feel like the knowledge gap that used to exist is kind of closing out. So what am I saying? I love my head of product seated here, but I feel like an intern might be able to execute almost on the same level with AI. Now, don't get me wrong. There is that aspect of context that an experience will bring. So I think that it's very important for every single person that is a product manager to figure out how AI will displace them and ensure that they can't function without, I'm not risky to say, but like you ensure that every single thing you do, you're thinking deeply with AI around the products you're thinking about, because there are many aspects that let me give you this simple thing. Like I used ChatGPT to crack such a hard problem around figuring a product recently. In fact, I used one particular AI tool to build a full MVP in like 12 hours. So what's that saying? It's saying that the skill sets that you might have built for the last decade and the last 2 decades might not be so valuable in the next decade. So the next thing I see as the next most valuable thing for product managers will be creativity. Creativity, like that area of which I'm such a great product manager, I can execute, but hardly will you ever be able to execute more than an AI if prompted very well. But then the creativity on knowing how to use these tools or what to do, that becomes the issue. So eventually, for the 21st century or 22nd century or 21st century, is probably we might all have to be pushed to become a different kind of engineer, that's being a prompt engineer for your own department based on your own context and the experience that you have. I think that's very fundamental. For us in Kora, we are currently doing an operational overhaul where we're using AI for, like AI is going to be embedded in every single thing, every single staff is going to be doing latest by the end of this quarter. And it's supposed to 10x productivity for every single person. And so I think that's the major thing I'm seeing, or that's the major thing we're seeing in terms of product. Now, I hope that as we enjoy today, as we explore, every single thing we're doing, I think we have some nice stuff for you outside as well. But please don't forget that there are 2 core things, and that's kind of like where we see the role and the person of product going to. Number one is we're seeing products shifting from being a thing people use to being the person. And number 2, skill might be obsolete, but creativity will become more valuable than skill in the next coming years. I wish you all the best, and thank you, and you're always welcome to Kora.
Thank you so much, Dickson, for a powerful introduction into the evening. I'm supposed to be seeing cameras and lights now. I was supposed to hear Preach on, Pastor. I almost touched the hem of Dickenson's garment. All right, thank you so much. That was the keynote address, and I'm sure we got the key message there: creativity and boosting productivity and efficiency with AI, which is going to be part of the things we're going to be discussing tonight in our next phase, right? And at this point, we'll be moving over to the panel section, right? Talking more about AI and just the tone Dickson have set in for us. I'm sure designers, product managers, and builders, engineers are here. Operations people are here. So we got you covered. I think I asked a few people here what they wanted to gain tonight. And in this next session, I will encourage you guys to listen attentively, ask questions, because the people who have coming on board, they are really powerful thought leaders in the industry. So at this point, I'll just hand off so that we can kick off the panel session. I'll just pass the mic to our moderator, Promise. Thank you. Round of applause.
Okay, hi everyone once again. Thank you, Louis, for passing on. So we're going to have a panel discussion with thought leaders in the industry, and we're going to be talking about AI and fintech, driving innovation and operational efficiency. So you see a lot of AI talk here and there. I think that's what this year's Products Management Day is about, right? Speaking about the future, and the future is right now. So on our panel, we have the able CEO of Kora, Mr. Segun Adeleye. Please keep clapping until you get here. Thank you so much for coming, Segun. Then we have the head of innovations at Kora, Jime. And last but not the least, we have David, is a founder of Nesla, and Nesla is an AI company. So please make your way here. Thank you so much. All right, so we are in for a very packed session. So we're just going to go ahead to ask some general questions, and please, we like you to really delve into your thoughts about these questions and also share your expertise in as well, right? Because we have people here that want to learn. So we're going to start with general questions, as I said. So now we're everywhere, AI, AI, AI. It's almost like it's a buzzword, right? And for me personally, I don't think it's a buzzword anymore. It's like a doing an action word now, unlike how it was like a few years ago. But what do you think that it practically means for fintech companies?
All right, thank you very much, and welcome everybody. Just like you said, AI is no longer a buzzword. I don't know if anybody watched Google I/O yesterday, and almost, if not all of the features that were unveiled. Sorry. Normal calls. So all the features that were unveiled were probably AI products or AI powered products. So it's a thing now. And in a matter of, and I think very soon it's going to be like the default. So I think as for financial services, there are a lot of use cases for AI as a payment infrastructure. There are so many use cases for AI, whether it's for fraud monitoring, for transaction routing, for merchant onboarding, for reconciliation. Is just a lot. I mean, not to even talk about things like improvements in compliance, security, when we speak to processes. So there's a huge opportunity. There are a lot of opportunities when it comes to leveraging AI in the fintech space. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You can pass the mic, I think, to the people who speak on that. So you can just
So for AI, I would like to see AI as no longer being an experimental technology, but foundational. And that's why, like at Kora, we are kind of like looking at the fundamentals. How can we set an infrastructure that will be able to allow us to deploy more AI solutions, basically? Because this is going to also unlock like a huge amount of like startups from the African continent, right? Because the barrier to starting up a company is very less now. So what is going to see is that a lot of new founders will emerge from the African continent, and we in payment, what that means is that it's going to increase our merchant base as well, because the barrier to running a company is less. So that gives us an opportunity to like process and service this merchant, unlocking like capital and business across Africa. That's on the one hand. We're also going to see a lot of like, before now, there are like some areas where like you could not use data enough in Africa. Talk about lending and stuff like that. But right now, what we are seeing is that you speak to like anybody on the streets, they have a bank account, even if it's like one of these mobile money wallets or something. This allows them to like collect payment. What is going to see is that we are going to use that data now, leveraging AI to come up with like alternative credit scoring algorithm or something to now allow people to get access to more capital to start business. So AI is going to like unlock credit scoring in a different way and make business much easier to do on the African continent, unlocking value not just for like the infrastructure players like Kora, but then also enhancing people to like start business and influence Africa basically. So yeah, that's what I see for AI. It's not just experimental no more. It's basically the foundation for everything we are going to like be doing. And Shagun talked about like Google, but if you see like even bigger players, like if you look at Stripe, most of their launch for like last week was around automation, AI and stuff like that. So you're going to be seeing a lot of this happening in payments. Maybe not yet in Africa, but this is something that's already happening. AI, automation, making it easier for people to collect payments and all. So yeah, that's my thought for AI.
Thank you so much, Jime. I'm really curious to hear what David has for us.
Yeah, I think what I'll add first off is from the individual point of view, which is that AI would supercharge us as individuals in our roles. So as developers, for example, if you're a developer and you're already not using something like Cursor for your work, then you're probably out of sync with everything going on. If you look at this week as well, there were a bunch of things that were released by top AI companies. I think like yesterday or the day before, GitHub Copilot, they launched their own async code editor. OpenAI already has Codex. Google launched Jules as well, which is basically like the same product from different companies. And what it does is basically you can give it your futures or your issues. It's going to try and go and solve it. And once it's done, it's going to create a pull request for you. And that's it. Basically, you just review the pull request and say, this is good, this is not good, right? So I think for individuals, I just used developers as an example. But regardless of whatever you're doing, if you're not using AI, then you're already out of it. From coding to product to development. I think a good example is Lovable, that was mentioned earlier as well, book.dev. You can basically prototype something in like an hour is even a stretch, basically. If you can think about it, and you can, even if you don't know how to prompt, you can basically get the LLM to teach you how to prompt better, right? So if you can think about something, you would just be able to build it. And I think that's the superpower that it gives to individuals. I think a lot of people see it as like, this is coming to replace us. I think the best way to think about it is this is coming to make me better at what I do. This is coming to give me superpowers, because for me, for example, I want to code a product. I'm probably thinking about it. I'm lazy. I'm like, this will take a while. Now I know with a couple of prompts, I can get something working really fast. So it's more about you being able to be more productive and get things out faster rather than being scared that this is totally going to put me out of business. And then from the company point of view as well, AI is allowing companies to reimagine how to solve problems. So either things that were previously out of reach that you could not even solve before, or things that you already have some solution, but now you can do something that is much better than what you already have. I think a good example that was mentioned earlier is something like customer support, for example. It's a low-hanging fruit. A lot of people have a lot of requests. FAQs are used to be like boring, just list, okay, this is how you can use our product XYZ. But now you can have an interactive chatbot that basically understands your documentation, for example. And let's say someone is trying to integrate with your API, you can basically expose that to them via a chatbot. They have questions instead of having to, come all the way down to your integration, the engineers or your team, or they are sending emails. They are chatting with something that knows your system really well and enables people to integrate better. We want to take it a step further. We have things like MCP servers that have become also popular. So if you have product companies, for example, can have their own MCP servers which people can prompt to actually build out things better. So when you think about it that way, you'd realize that from an individual point of view, you are getting supercharged, but also from a company's point of view, things that you could not do easily before now becomes very accessible.
Thank you so much, David. You really were spot on in terms of not seeing AI as a replacement for us, more of helping us to be better and supercharging us. So I think Shegun had that use cases where AI come in, right? Do you want to share some real life use cases right now within your work that leverage AI to improve whether it's your workflow or your customer experience?
Yeah, I think I would like to talk about what we've been doing on fraud monitoring. Yeah, so as you all know, as a payment infrastructure or in the payment space, one of the things you deal with is fraud, and you must be able to take a proactive step in preventing fraud or being able to detect fraud in time and address it. So that's one key area where we've really been leveraging AI. There are also other areas around that we are still not considering really, but that we have plans to, implement AI, because like we said, like we established, this is a thing now that has to be your first thought when you're thinking of solutions to any problem. I think it's just ideal, or it's just normal to think of, the first question is, how can I leverage AI here? Then in terms of productivity, you mentioned things like coding assistants, Copilot, Cursor, even as simple as maybe drafting an email. These are things that you could probably think of. You save little time here. They add up, right? You want to come up with an initial draft. You just prompt with probably 5 lines of prompt. You have a full document. I was going to work on a framework recently, and something around AI adoption, and all I needed to do was to go to Gemini and also use ChatGPT to share, just to brainstorm, and then in a matter of time I was done with what I needed to do. So there's so much opportunity here for personal, for supercharging what you already do and leveraging solutions, or building AI-powered solutions as well.
All right, thank you so much. So I think I'll just jump to Jime with a different question. So from an operations perspective, right, how do you identify areas that are ripe for AI integration? It's because now, for instance, the everyday work, when you look at, let's say, a payment company, for example, sorry that we're biased towards payments. Kora is a payment company, right? There's so many things going on. There are so many things going on. So how do you know that this area is ripe for AI automation or AI innovation?
Okay, so one of the very first things we do is identifying what are the repetitive tasks that people do today. Uh, One of the hardest things in operations, everybody will agree, is around reconciliations. With AI, we are able to do a lot with reconciliation, basically identifying like our partners, banks, third-party providers, and everything, and being able to like spot like discrepancies in transactions, right? Just be able to like fix those specific transactions. This is one huge area that we can see reconciliations time dropping from days to like merely like hours or even minutes. So the end for like being able to use AI around reconciliation basically supercharges like the team to focus on like the actual things that would make a lot of business sense, right? Judgment, oversight judgment, and things like that. But how do we identify areas that we want to use AI? We look at repetitive tasks. How are we doing onboarding today? Is it slow? How long do we take to like onboard? Once we identify those repetitive things, then we now say, okay, how do we use AI specifically in these areas to like improve this? Cut the onboarding time from, let's say, 2 days to like hours, basically, right? So this is like areas that we use to like know, okay, this is how we would use AI, basically, yeah.
All right, thank you. David, you want to share your thoughts on this, seeing that you have an AI company that does things like this?
Sure. I think thinking about it in terms of like the products that where you can use AI to improve what you already have. Like you mentioned, you want to look at things that are low hanging for starters. I think for now, most development when you are building a new, so I think the more common stuff that people do now are AI agents, and then you want to build like a tiny agent that is really good at one thing. So I would say in terms of looking at how to put it in your product, you figure out what is a tiny area that you think you can build an agent to do like really well. And of course, building AI depends on data that you have. So is there an area where you have enough data to actually be able to build something that gives out value? On the other side, there are areas that might be a bit more critical, especially in a financial setting, where you don't necessarily want to introduce AI directly. So in terms of like risk for, say, for example, something like customer support, it's probably less serious than, for example, transaction routing. And then you maybe start using AI for transaction routing, there is some issue, and then transactions are getting routed incorrectly. So I would say the key things to focus on is there an area that I have enough data to actually build something meaningful out of? Then the second stuff is risk reward value. Is this something more risky that I want to take slowly, or is this something that has more value and less risk?
All right, thank you so much, David. Okay, I have a question for Shegun now. So how do you, I think someone had said, Jime had said that AI is no more experimentation, which is very valid, but how do you balance the innovation around AI? I'm trying not to call it experimentation, by the way. The innovation around AI within your product and the need for reliability and trust in fintech. Because now, especially in maybe Nigeria or in Africa, there are still pressing issues that a fintech is trying to, or fintech to like figure out, right? And then there is this bright new shiny thing called AI, and it feels like everybody's eye is going towards that. So balance the innovation around that and or regular pressing issues in the fintech space.
I think, I mean, you can still call it experimentation because a lot of people are still exploring this tool. And the reason why they are exploring the tool is because of the value in it. You still need to get a hang of it for you to be able to implement it properly. So one thing is we have to, whether we like it or not, it's still a relatively new tool. Of course, you even see the disclaimer that these AI tools can hallucinate. And when you understand the fundamentals of how these technologies actually work, there's a high chance that they could hallucinate. So there has to be caution. For number one, it's very important to set guardrails. Know what you mentioned. You talked about risk. What's the risk to reward? what are the consequences of things going wrong. For example, you require data. You're going to just use AI to and just use it for your customer data. Those are things that you need to be clear on. What are the boundaries? And for us, we work with the security team here. Even as much as we know that we have to go through an AI transformation phase, we are also carrying the necessary teams along. And because we don't want to do this and then regret taking such steps or making so much progress and then regressing just because we did not take some things into consideration. So establish guardrails, boundaries, even in improving your productivity as a developer. Can you infuse AI into some of your code base? Is it safe? Just clarify all of these things. But from a product point of view, you could also approach things by having maybe a staging area where you can carry out. You can carry out your test. There's maybe you create test data that you can experiment on, where if things go wrong, you are still very safe. There's also the aspect of maybe staged rollouts, A/B testing, for example, where when you build a new, you don't roll it out to all your customers. You do A/B testing. There could also be a beta program. There are a number of AI features that are still in beta phases. It's just to be sure that things are working as expected, because again, you're experimenting. You don't want to, in a way, do something that would probably affect your reputation or will make your customers or merchants, in our own case, lose trust in us. Then another thing is ensure that, I'm trying to remember, something just skipped my mind, but guardrails have to be in place. Like I said, beta, phased rollout, A/B testing, human in the loop, very, very important. Like I mentioned, hallucination, things can go wrong. You want to ensure that before you automate a process end to end, you want to ensure that there are human in the loop, verifying that things are done correctly. That's also a learning phase. And once you can ascertain that, okay, this is working as expected, then you do full automation. The important thing is, with any new tool, it's still a technology. It's not 100%. Things can go wrong. Approach it with caution.
Thank you so much, Shegun. I have a question for Jime and David, but you're going to answer from two different perspectives. So I'll start with David, by the way. So from a technical point of view, right, what infrastructure or foundational steps should companies, right, take before in AI?
Yeah, I think for that, like you mentioned as well, the most important thing before you even attempt to scale, the most important thing for AI systems is data. So you need to look at your data infrastructure. Do I have data pipelines that allow me to actually get data that I can use for this AI? It's a common saying that your AI is only as good as the data you've trained it with. So if you train it with garbage, you get garbage in, garbage out, right? So the most important thing before you even look at scaling or doing anything, the most important infrastructure is your data infrastructure. Am I getting the right data? Am I cleaning them properly? Am I storing them, making them accessible? I think the other bit on the infra side that is quite important, like you mentioned also, is security. You're talking about data in the context of fintech is even quite sensitive, but you also have like PIIs for individuals and things like that. So in terms of using those data for AI training, you need to be very cautious about that. You also need to understand the kind of policies you have with your users. Have they agreed for you to actually do such training and things like that on their data? And if you start using the data in some way, do you need to actually get consent from the users if you already don't have such consent from them and things like that. So that's on the security side. And then I think lastly, on the actual infrastructure for AI itself, I think it's quite easy for people to get started experimenting now. We have like all of these cloud products that, I mean, everybody has probably used ChatGPT at some point before. So if you want to start building more complicated things as well, most of these models are available via APIs that you can use for your product and things like that. So from getting started, I think the more common trend is for people to use existing products before even attempting to customize. Say, for example, you want to do something like customer support bots. Again, that's a very, I keep using that because I think it's something that would be easy for everybody to relate with. We all use products. We want to reach out and ask questions about the product, right? There are a lot of tools that exist that you can actually use to, you can even do something like a custom GPT where you just upload like your information about your product and then people can chat with it and things like that. So before even trying to scale out, you try and embrace the existing tools that exist. And then as you grow and you see the use case actually giving more and more value to the business, then you can invest more heavily, get more skilled people in, build something custom. The cost can also like ramp up quite high, so you can consider something like moving on-prem, having like your own NVIDIA cluster and things like that. But before we get to all of that, just like the basis, use cloud, it's easy, you can easily get started. Ensure that you have all the safety guardrails in control, have policies with people letting them know that you will be using data for XYZ. And yeah, I think those are like the key things to have unlocked before looking at building out something bigger with AI.
Thank you so much, David. That was very, very detailed. Okay, so the same question to you, but from an operational perspective. Sorry, I'm laughing. I mean, we all know of a business that scaled AI in their customer support, and there was like a whole backlash from customers saying, why am I chatting with AI? Why is AI not responding to me? So from an operational perspective, what are the infrastructure and operation and foundational steps that companies need to take before scaling AI? And sorry, this is also going to help us product people because we're always thinking about the possible risk that could come from any action we take. So I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Okay, so I would say firstly would be to have a data sandbox, right? The good thing is that AI is also able to help us to create that sort of like sandbox data. So taking maybe company historicals or like sample size and then blowing that off with like AI to get different instances that we can actually test, right? That's one way. Once we have that data, then what it gives us is an opportunity to fail faster, learn faster, and jump on the wagon faster. One of the rule of thumb I use is, like, for instance, I don't know if anybody have heard of Palantir. It's a company that was started by one of the PayPal founders, and for the longest, it felt like it was like a mirage, like it didn't exist. And then just this year, Palantir is like the hottest stocks. If you're interested in stocks, that's somewhere to go. It's like the biggest thing right now, similar to the way NVIDIA was back in the days. And when NVIDIA started graphic computing, it seems like a mirage. Everybody was doing sequential computing. NVIDIA saw that, okay, we can do parallel computing to be able to like process multiple amounts of data at the same time. They started it felt like a mirage, but they were able to fail faster, and then they learned faster, and they took the market by the horn. So I would say it makes sense to like have the data sandbox, that's one thing, but then it is very important for us to like fail as fast as we can, because when we try to protect it, it would also get to a point that AI would be used to hurt the organization. So it makes sense to now start looking at it from an AI point of view, right? To be able to like fix that. So how to prepare, create sandbox of data to like test, fail faster. One thing is clear, is that like this is an AI era. So the faster we jump on it, it's also like it gives like an opportunity. That's one way. And then secondly, what we can also do is
we can have like risk metrics. There are certain aspects of the organizations that don't require like heavy access like to your company privacy data. We can start with that market insights, content writing, marketing. There's a lot we can do with that, right? Basically, we can start from that. So just basically having like risk metrics. These are things that we categorize as being very critical to the organization and it would harm us. These are the ones that we think we can start experimenting with. So we prioritize with the ones we can start experimenting with. And for the ones that we feel are critical, we take advantage of the sandbox data that was AI enabled or assisted to like generate. And then of course, like we can jump on the bandwagon. Yeah, that's the future.
Thank you so much. I love the fact that you touched on risk assessment. So before we go into any form of automation, especially ones that affect customers, it's very important to assess the risk and have plans to mitigate against it in whichever way it turns out. Hopefully it turns out positive, by the way. Okay, so fraud detection is a go-to use case for AI, especially in fintech, right? So what do you think is changing in that space and what's working when it comes to fraud detection and AI?
Okay, I think, or should I? There are two aspects, right? One is fraud detection and fraud prevention. And I think both of them are actually very important because in some cases, you might not be able to prevent the fraud as when it's done, but you might be able to detect it maybe after it has passed through your system. In terms of AI, by the way, there have always been machine learning models for fraud, so it's not necessarily a new thing. It's been around, but just because AI has now caught on, a lot of people are now aware of it. It's now something that a lot of people are now considering. So I think I'll speak on the preventive side because I believe that's where there's a lot of work and there has to be a lot of creativity because for fraud detection, technically that's more straightforward than for prevention. And on the preventive side, you want to ensure that you're able to detect anomaly as quickly as possible. And there are a lot of AI models or machine learning models for that. I can't remember their names. So that would reduce, or those kind of things improve the confidence that you have. It reduces because there's a lot that goes into fraud recovery. It takes a lot of work. So if you're able to prevent fraud, it saves your fraud team unnecessary work while they can spend that time doing something else. It also improves the confidence that your customers and your merchants have in you because they are sure that even if bad actors come to their platforms, your infrastructure is smart enough to detect the fraud and prevent it. So another important thing to highlight is the fraudsters are also very smart. And that's where AI comes in. Being able to quickly adapt to anything out of the ordinary and quickly flag it and prevent it. So I think that's one important aspect where fraud monitoring tools play a significant role. They can get you. Fraudsters can actually study your system, how it's detecting fraud, and try to just find their way around it. But with AI, because of its adaptive nature to in real time, it's able to catch those things and then prevent them. Some might pass through, but the most important thing is once it's able to identify the new pattern, to block events, and then that also goes into the knowledge base for the AI, fraud monitoring AI to prevent subsequent fraud.
Thank you so much. The interesting thing is that the fraudsters are also using AI. Your system, so
yes. So it's very important to be ahead because I think it takes a smart person to commit fraud. Really, it takes a smart person to commit fraud. There's a lot that goes into it, a lot of brain work.
Thank you. Dime, do you want to answer that, or should I ask the other question? Okay, so I just have one more question for both of you, and Shaggy, you can answer if you like. Okay, so and this is the last one. So how can fintechs use AI to deepen financial inclusion rather than widen the digital divide? Because now with AI and this new technology coming out, it's almost like it's harder. Even the basic transfers that people have not learned, now you are bringing chatbots into the story for people to learn, right? So it feels like there's so much going on, and it's almost like it's deepening or widening the gap, right? So how can AI help to close that gap and even make it better?
Okay, so one area I think I'm most optimistic about AI is around market creation. In terms of financial inclusion, apart from the mobile money, there hasn't been any big innovation that has come out of Africa or anywhere that has to do with financial inclusion. However, there is still a very huge opportunity around lending, access to capital for businesses and individuals to use the data they have, transaction data, shopping patterns, interactions on social media to be able to offer very complex products to these guys with the little data that they have. It seems little, but it's not really little. And if you imagine what can be unlocked with those sort of data and product, we all agree getting a loan in Nigeria is they'll ask you for your arm, basically. But with AI, we already have a lot of collateral that we can actually tap into, your social media interaction. We just need to be able to design models to be able to pick very informed samples and maybe just signals, and then we'll use that to serve as a credit facility, basically. And then you see a lot of companies around lending coming out, right? And this is also a way of including more people. There's some businesses that the major issue is just around capital. Capital is going to be the biggest inclusion that is going to be facilitated by AI. So I'm very, very, very optimistic around that, basically for AI in Africa. Yeah.
Thank you so much for touching on that. David, please.
Yeah. There's a famous quote that I'm trying to remember, but it's something about the technology has not really become popular until it's in the background and it's no longer in your face when you think about it. And I think how AI would help with inclusion is until we get to a point where it doesn't feel to people like you are trying to sell them an AI product. It's just in the background and it works. It's making everything smoother. A good example that you mentioned is something like transaction routing. Your end user does not need to know that you are using AI to route transactions more intelligently, but they just realize that your reliability has gone up, right? So I think until we get to a point where how we are deploying AI, it's no longer in the face of people. We are not trying to get them to see it as, hey, it's a new technology that you need to learn or you need to embrace it in a certain way. It just becomes part of their day-to-day. They use it in their financial products. You are doing a transfer, you are using AI without knowing that you are using AI. I think once you get to that point where you are doing a transfer, AI is being used somehow, you don't know, you don't need to care. We need to get to a point where customers don't need to care or even be aware that these things are working. I think until we get to that point, that's really what we should be aiming for. And I think when we do things like that, it would make us build products that are actually generally more inclusive for people, that are easier for people to use in different sort of market or age groups and things like that. They are ways we can essentially rethink how we are building our product to make the experiences simpler, easier, but at the same time, like I mentioned, it shouldn't necessarily have to be in the face of the users. You just build products that are so easy, so convenient for people to use, while the intelligence is being powered by some machine learning model in the background or some LLM. And I think that's one way we can use to improve inclusion with AI. And I think that's sort of how I see the future being like.
Thank you so much, David. Shegun, you want? Okay, please go ahead, David.
Yeah. I mean, just to also add on access to very complex financial products, I think you would also agree that as Africans or as Nigerians, there are certain complex financial products that we don't get access to because of the learning gaps, the curve and everything is like a lot. And anybody following the news, you see like there has been like a bill that has been passed on like SEC to be able to like issue or like offer crypto services in Nigeria. In crypto as well, there's like a huge opportunity around that. Complex products like bridging, doing like a lot of things, alternative financial payments and everything. I think this is an area that AI agents are going to be able to like compress very complex financial products into very simple instructions that can be issued even in your local languages, and people would get access to these very complex products that nobody thought was possible, even learning. Now people can speak in their local dialect. It gets converted to like maybe like the natural language, and then you start bridging. Like you don't even understand what's happening, but you can get access to those kind of complex products. And I see a lot of companies, or if they're also like smart people in the room, I see these are like very huge opportunities that people can delve in to like expand the market and basically unlock huge capital on the continent as well. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Jime, for adding that.
Well, you just said what I was about to say, sincerely. I'm just the idea of building AI tools that would help, languages. So maybe, for example, you want to do a transfer, you just say it in Yoruba, Bami send owo si la la la, and then everything just kicks in. So local, I think that's a huge opportunity. I'm not sure. I don't think we put a lot of effort into building products for our, maybe people who are maybe not as educated as a lot of people, like people who are not educated. And for example, I don't think our constitution is in our local language. Do you understand? And there has to be, there's a lot of innovation around that, and people can play around with it. I think that's a way to really improve financial inclusion and reduce the gap.
Thank you so much. This was very, very, very insightful, and I've actually learned a lot from this panel. Things that I've never thought about, I literally learned it from these guys. Thank you so much. So we're going to take some questions from the audience to the panelists. So if you have any questions, please just signify so I can come to you. We have the lovely lady here and the lovely man there.
Thank you very much to all the speakers. I learned quite a lot today. So my question is regarding the data infrastructure. So I would say that how do we guard against data integrity issues? So using it as an example in lending, if you want to take a loan, we need your credit report. That is if you are not using alternative sources of data and telemetry data. But you find out that from the credit bureaus, if you are using 3, you most likely get 3 different results, or at the very least 2 might be correct. So how do we guard against this data integrity issues, like I said before, and to be able to make good decisions? Because at the end of the day, the AI is only as good as the data you give it.
Cool. Like, do you have anybody that you want to say? Anyone? Maybe David can answer. I think it was one that gave garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, I totally understand that. The example that you used, you make a request, you get 3 different data. How do you know which one is which and which to use? And I think that's like one of the challenges that we need to solve before trying to adopt all of this AI stuff. We are at the place where we can see the value that we can build using all of this data and infrastructure, but if we don't have the underlying data, you're looking at like these advanced economies and them being able to do that, because obviously they are not going to return 3 different data. But if you do that in Nigeria and you train an AI on that, the AI to return 3 different answers. So I think the first step would be actually working to clean out all of those data, right? And in this case, it's the credit bureau. It might not be something you're able to control directly yourself, but maybe, for example, like you mentioned, using alternative sources, maybe you are then able to actually validate some of this data and say, okay, we are cleaning it. This one we can't trust. This one we can't trust. I think it's going to involve a lot of like legwork. One of the things that is also common is using humans, labelers, to essentially label new data, especially when you're just getting started. And I think we are going to have to do a lot of those kind of work here in the country where we don't have existing data sets that are already like cleaned up for usage for most of our applications. So internally, you might need to hire a team of like data annotators to work on some of this data, clean it up, validate it in some other way before you can get to a point where you actually build something reliable. But with all of that inconsistency, basically there is no workaround. You need to fix the inconsistency in the data before you can actually get anything good out of it.
Thank you so much. We have the gentleman at the back, the young lady over there, and the other gentleman across.
Thank you. So I want to find out, because now it's much easier to build products, obviously quicker with AI. What's the fine balance between taking data from AI? So let's say you want a product for a niche group of people, and you just say, I want to build this type of products, give me information about this type of people, what are their likes, what are their dislikes. Obviously, the AI system is going to give you information from whatever it has been fed before now. So my question is more around, how do you find the balance between using the information that you get from AI, especially when you want to move fast? You know, typically the process is going to involve actually finding real users, have conversations with, find out what their pain points are, and all of that. But now that things are moving pretty quick, is it possible to actually build products that will scale from data directly from AI systems, Gemini, ChatGPT, whatever the case, or even at that, we still have to blend the information we get from AI with actual user data, considering the key factor here is speed. I mean, if you had a, you might as well go into the field and reach out to people individually, but when people are trying to move really quickly, is there a fine balance, or would you say it's safe enough to use the information there because it's generally updated enough, or you still think it's important to still do some extra human legwork to validate whatever you're thinking? Shegun was nodding very well.
I think that what's the cost of moving fast? Right? That's the question. The key factor is necessarily not speed. I think it's improved productivity, or you're leveraging these tools to enhance, I think enhancement really. So, and I'm sure we all agree that there's an AI, even for the AI too, they've been trained on different kind of data, but those data might not really be applicable to your context. So context is very important. That's why there is development around model context protocol, the MCP, so that whatever you are doing, there's a context, there's a reference for the AI to use to give you something relevant. So you can use whatever has been fed, the AI model has been trained on to, to do what you have to do, but it's very important that you also feed in your context. It's a collaborative, the AI is not going to do everything for you. You are it's a collaborative effort. You're working with the AI, you've given the AI, see it as your AI, these tools can be seen as colleagues. Just you give them all the things that they will need. Someone says you can see an AI as an intern, for example, that you need to give enough information for them to be able to do their job well, so that in the end the output is in line with what you really want to achieve.
Okay, so also just to maybe touch on the two questions, right? I mentioned something like AI being foundational, right, as against experimental. The reason for that is that the companies that will stand out would be the companies that invested more in like the data structuring to start with. Once you get the data structuring right, then you are able to give it more context using your data that is very, like you can recognize, your policies, your social interactions, basically everything that you've done in the company, right? It's not able to like use those large language models, but then with contextual learning, right? Then it improves the outcome that you get. And that's where you start seeing improvement even in like the kind of data for like lending that she talked about, right? Because you've been able to like invest. So there's also like the next layer of like AI, which is like artificial general intelligence. When you have these two components together, what you now start seeing is that there will be like improvement, right, in the outcomes, even outcomes that are even better than we as humans could have actually even inferred. So it's all about learning, giving it as much data as you can. And that's the reason why I always emphasize that it's always best to like start playing with AI, because the more we play with it, the only problem is that it's going to get too smart, that it might be smarter than maybe all of us in this room combined, which maybe might not be the best thing, but then that's where it's going to be. But it will start from the foundation. How did you set up your data infrastructure? How is your filtering like? Where are you getting these data sets from? How are they coming in? What's your data integrity? What is even your modeling? Like, how are you transforming this data? How are you modeling this data? Who are you using for these things? The more you invest into this would be the reason why you might stand out from a company that is just using ChatGPT to like review code. Yeah, basically. So just taking it as foundational and not just experiment. And if it's foundational, you need to set up a very solid foundation to be able to like give us a close attempt at getting to like the AGI in our own operations, basically. Yeah.
Thank you, Jime. Do you want to speak on that?
Yeah, I think what I just want to add that I think it's important to focus on is bias, especially when you're using the models to generate data. You should be careful that these models already have implicit bias as well. So even without you feeding it your own data, as they've mentioned, if you just basically want to ask a question and base your decision on that, you should be careful and know that there is possibility that these things actually have bias, so you should take note of that.
Okay, so I'm going to just speak a little bit on the question David asked. You guys have tackled it from technical point of view. Let's talk product to product. Nothing can replace your customer insight, right? As he said, context matters. The place or the data set that the ChatGPT or whatever tool you're using to gather information, those customers may not go in line with your actual customers. And if you even check it, the big companies, they still get data from you. So those data that they've collected from the customers is what informs what they're building at the end of the day. So you still have to find ways to get insights from your customers to make your decision. You can't just base your whole decision based on what you get on ChatGPT. So it's very important that you still make the effort to get insights from various points from your customers. So yeah. Okay, we have 2 more questions. And
okay, So, if you integrate your system, so the question is for the engineer.
You can't hear you.
Okay, so if you integrate your system with an AI model, say GPT, right? Can you guard your data? Can you safeguard it from the general knowledge of GPT, like of the whole world? Do you get what I'm saying? So if you are teaching it with your data and training it with your data, does that training seep to the central GPT? Yeah.
So I would expect that ChatGPT, again, I don't know about the data privacy and all those things on ChatGPT for OpenAI. I don't have information about that, but I'm very sure that for companies, for enterprise, for companies to have confidence in using ChatGPT and their AI models, there will definitely be a clause on data privacy. So, because these are things that are very important to organizations. For example, as a fintech, data is it's a priced asset, and we need to protect it. So it's very important that most times, most of those organizations always prioritize privacy, and I'm very sure that I'm sure OpenAI will not joke with something like that. So I think, yeah, I can double check, but I have 90% assurance that there will be a clause where they will indicate that they will not train on your data.
So I believe we're in agreement. Please let's just take the last question.
All right. Thank you everyone for your contribution. It's been an insightful session. My question is around us product managers and even product designers with regards to AI. How much domain knowledge of AI would you recommend or advise product managers or product designers or people in products to have, so that it would help them in building these products with AI in it, ensuring that they are actually building, they have the knowledge of AI, and then they are building products that are AI enabled. And because nowadays you get to see a number of adverts and they are asking you, have you built an AI product before? So the question is, what domain knowledge, how much domain knowledge, if I'm not an engineer or an AI engineer or a machine learning engineer, how much domain knowledge of AI do we product persons need to have to be able to do some of these things?
Yeah, I think the short answer is, when you think about it, you should focus more on the product side of it, which is like, you don't necessarily need to go so deep into the whole AI, how it works, but you need to be up to date with the capacities of these tools. What can they actually do? I think that's what your focus should be, and less about, it's important to also understand some of the things regarding how they are built, so that you understand their limitations. For things like hallucination, for example, you would know that implicitly, if I'm using, say, an LLM model, I know there's a possibility that it could hallucinate. So you have that at the back of your mind while building something on top of it. But I think you don't need to have so much domain context where you're going so deep to understand how all of these things work. They are fun to learn about, if you're interested as an engineer, but at a very high level, just look at what people are building with it. Look at most of these models, for example, the top leading AI companies release models, and they talk about what they are capable of doing. You have video models, multimodal models, you have like language models, voice and things like that. So I think the most important stuff is just keep following this, and the capacities of these models keep getting better and better every day. And most of the time when these AI companies actually release models, they also build products that use those models, so that you can actually see an example of how such a model can be used. So for example, when Google did their Gemini model, they had the notebook ML product that they released for people to actually like do podcasts and things like that, to show you what you can actually do with those models. So I'll say, don't focus so much on the AI bits, just focus more on their capabilities.
Thank you so much, David. That's a good way to close this session. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm going to pass the mic back to our host to continue. All right, we can take some pictures while our host...
Wow. Let's give them another round of clap. If you're not clapping, you're an up. Let's clap. Powerful session. I'm sure we learned a lot. And for the people across design, products, and people that came here to see how AI ties to their own work, I'm sure they got gems. So thank you so much for our speakers. Thank you so much, moderator. Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause, please. All right, a great session there. We just have 2 items on our agenda. We have a demo session where we'll be showing a couple of innovations from Kora in the area of fintech. But before we do that, we'll stretch our legs. Let's step out, just grab a bite, then come back in 15 minutes. I'm sure I've been sitting, right? Let us stretch. I will reconvene in 15 minutes. Thank you. Let's step out, let's step out. 15 minutes, we'll be back. Hello, please take your bag as you are stepping out. Thank you.